Okay. We're now, I think we're online now. Okay, we're now online, buddy. Yeah, we can start. Okay, good afternoon, Philippines. Good afternoon, world. Good day. Welcome to another edition of Pinoy Athletics Track Talk Thursdays. With me is Andrew and, of course, our colleagues who are participating all over the world. We would like to appreciate your presence for this afternoon. So, since we have, I think the connection went, we're waiting for Andrew to go back online. Okay, so I hope that you are having at least fine situation back home there in the Philippines, and we wish and that your family are safe from all risks of COVID-19. Okay, Andrew, we can start if you're ready. Andrew? If you're ready, we can start soon. So, for now, we will share our topic for this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I'll be sharing now the screen. But we are now online, so the screen is now sharing for your convenience. There, hello.
The other, sorry, sorry, I
Okay, sir.
just had to disconnect just the mobile because it went onto mobile data, and I don't want it to use my mobile data, so I switched it. I switched my mobile data off.
Okay. So you're back
Yeah,
online now on your common internet. So now the
yeah,
presentation is running. So
yeah.
Coach
If you could
Franz.
change the presentation to the other one I sent, because this one's for later.
Okay, so
Yeah, the other one.
where is the other one? Okay, so yes, one moment.
Yep. Yeah, it's a smaller PowerPoint. It's just basically the outline of what's being discussed today.
Yes, yes, okay. So
Because that coaching philosophy thing will be that'll be used at the end. I think I might go over 6 o'clock, but but that's fine because the person
mm-hmm.
coming around, hopefully they're not early. Like if they're more likely to be late, but because they've paid for the
Yeah.
item, they're probably likely to be early. But I might need to take a quick couple of minute break if someone comes to the door. But I'm not gonna like if they start chit chatting, I'm just going to say, I'm sorry, but I've got to get back to work. So, on a webinar call, so they've got to,
Yeah.
here we go. Okay, cool. So today, on track talk Q&A, Pinoyathletics Q&A today, we will be discussing the topic of coaching philosophy. Here we have a photo of famous basketball coach John Wooden, and he quotes here, "I'm not a believer in meetings or so-called chalk talks or blackwood drills. I believe in learning by repetition to the point that everything becomes automatic." Okay, so if I'm relating this back to sprints, yeah, like for example, if basically by continuously doing drills and movements and that sort of thing, they eventually become, or you eventually go into autopilot when you get into competitions, because you've rehearsed those drills time in, time out, time in again, and that they become natural, and you go into autopilot when you get into a competition. Not too much you can do when you go to the meet, but apart from trying to stay as stress-free as possible to recall those movements, and going to autopilot when you're in the zone for a sprint. Now, if we could move to the next slide. Okay, yeah. So, I'm not sure if this is the best way to put it, but I did rush this this presentation.
Yes.
No. Yeah, somebody just advised that they can't hear the presentation. Can you can hear what I'm saying right now?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm asking them if they can not hear anything on the Facebook Live or in the Zoom room, just to clarify that. We'll just pause for a few, for probably about a minute or 30 seconds, just to resolve that issue. If they don't answer that question, then I will just assume that everything's okay and just proceed. Are there any comments yet on the Facebook Live about
not yet, but as of now, we are joined by at least 5 people for now. David from Capital Ateneo de Davao University, Ramil Torregosa of Davao City, Patrick Manalang of San Pablo City, Professor Robin Darwin Tuliao of Cagayan State University, Tuguegarao City, Cagayan Province, Terence O'Neill Autida, of course, he says that he can hear. And of course, at Zoom, we have Rodolfo Leti Jr., Sir Rodolfo, and Landy Fuentes Tilbe of Mandaluyong City on Facebook. So you can continue. So yes, since yesterday, we've been hearing this news of the malversation, alleged malversation of athletes' allowances by an official of the Philippine Sports Commission. But of course, since we believe in due process of law, so we won't mention any names until he is proven guilty in the courts. So those.
Okay, we can't. I'm not fully. We can't fully mention the name, but but the thing is, the newspapers have already mentioned the name. It's everywhere at the moment. So.
Yes. So, we can be better with them. So at least in my opinion,
what I'm saying is it's not really relevant that we mention the name of the person. It's not, because no one will pretty much know who he is anyway. So I think that we won't mention the name of the clerk or the official that is involved in this. At the moment, the due process is that the NBI is investigating this case to see if anybody else is involved, because likely it's possible that more people could be involved in this. And the PSC, which is currently with officer in charge, Commissioner Raymond Fernandez, has agreed to fully cooperate with the NBI in their investigations to basically clean up, clean up Philippine sports, whatever needs to be done in order to be running a clean ship here. So it's commendable that the PSC is taking this matter seriously and cooperating fully with the NBI to find the truth on this particular matter. The amount stated was 14 million pesos, which was allegedly going to the land bank accounts from athletes that were no longer in coaches.
I believe, of course, this is only my humble opinion, buddy. Although, of course, it's already in the investigation bureau details of the scam. I believe that, of course, this is really, in my opinion, only that it's aside from this accused person, I'm thinking as well that there is still accomplices on this kind of situation, because a 15 million fiasco won't be done only by one person. I'm thinking, I perhaps maybe that there is something that who's involved, also involved here. Okay, are you there, buddy? Hello, are you there? I think. Okay, so uh, we have some challenges on the connection. So to continue our, so that's also okay, buddy. Are you back? You're muted. Are you back? We are having some technical
Sorry,
problems.
can you just flick back? I've got something to add.
Yeah, sure. One
Yeah,
moment.
back past.
Okay. Yeah, we're back. Okay.
I think that if the person, who is being accused is brought, to interrogation by the NBI, then he may, if greased up enough, he may end up dropping,
Mm-hmm.
like spilling the beans or squealing more names if
Mm-hmm.
there are more names involved. So I think that the NBI um, should be more than capable of like finding out if there are more people involved. Of course, it's possible, but until the NBI really
Mm-hmm.
come up with like continue their investigation, I'm sure we will know in due time. Okay, next slide.
Okay. One moment.
But it's good that the management has really tackled that. So it's good
Yeah.
that they're cooperating and doing their best to resolve this issue to clean up Philippine sport. Okay, so the next issue I brought up is like I read that from the 15th to the 31st of July, the GCQ will continue, particularly in Manila. And it's very highly likely that if the situation of COVID in terms of cases and deaths gets worse after the 31st of July, then they will be heading into modified ECQ. I think that in modified ECQ, which is a stricter guideline than GCQ, I think that if that would push through and the situation gets any worse, then I think that pretty much most competitions in athletics in the Philippines will be basically a write-off for the year 2020. Because obviously, look, at the situation, I have athletes I'm coaching over there, and they can't even use the stadiums are still all closed. They can't even, they have to train at home. There's hardly anywhere for them to train. Even parks and stuff, and road. Sometimes in some places in the Philippines, the police are out roving, making sure people are not even training on the roads. So, in order to have competitions, the PTAFA was proposing that they have weekly relays in September. In order even to get to the competition stage, the athletes have had to have had time to train first. Imagine it's already the middle of July. It's about 6 weeks to go before September, and a lot of athletes haven't even been able to train because the stadiums are closed. So how are they going to be able to compete in 6 weeks if they haven't even been able to train? So that's why I'm thinking that it might be early to have weekly meets in September if like people can't even train right now. So it's sort of like a bit of sort of wishful thinking on the part that you're going to be going back into weekly relays in 6 weeks' time when the situation is what it is right now. Do you have
Yeah.
anything further to add, or should we move to?
I think it. Of course, on my thinking, I see that until that the situation hasn't been really managed well for, I don't see any event that will come on November and December because
I think even the Dep Ed has to consider and concede the fact that the ASEAN School Games in December, which is an international meet, so it involves athletes coming in to the Philippines in November. I think even that is doubtful right now, even though the DepEd is adamant that it will push through still and doesn't have any plans to cancel it. I see it unlikely because, even Vietnam is having competitions right now because it's relatively COVID free. It's not having competitions where it's inviting people in from overseas. This ASEAN School Games in November in Dumaguete is an international meet because you're inviting athletes from the other Southeast Asian countries to join, which puts everybody at great risk.
yeah, exactly. So that is
As
the
the recent news as well is that the 2022 Commonwealth or World Youth Games or World Youth Olympic Festival, I can't remember what exactly it's called, but it's been postponed to 2026.
yeah, I think so. But yeah, of course, here of course, on the context here, they already started opening the borders, but there are, for example, in the context of Hungary, they introduced the so-called color-coded system where there is a red country, yellow country, and green countries. So the red countries meaning if you get out and you came from these red countries, you won't be allowed entry. If you came from yellow coded countries, you can enter
Yeah.
Hungary, but of course, you need to do self quarantine and to be subject to tracing by the state. But then if it's a
Right.
um, green coded country, you can enter freely, but of course I think you just only need to subject yourself to checks or something like
Okay.
that.
Yep.
Germany, I think they will have their national championships in August in Braunschweig as scheduled, but I don't know yet the capacity or the crowd system that they're having, because in Austria they're doing now the events, but I see that they have only limited audiences and they have only few events.
Yeah.
So it's just only that to continue the season, and of course it will be a test on August 19, the East Van Memorial, which is the international part of the World Athletics Challenge and also part of the World Athletics calendar here in
Yeah.
Hungary, that it's well announced that they will push through on August 19. So I'll be there and we will see if they will put the audience participation on a normal or they will have some restrictions, because here you only wear masks on indoor places like public transportation, bus, trains, and trams, and also entering commercial centers like malls and stores. But of course, on open spaces, just of course sports stadium, I see people
Yeah.
exercising without any masks. And of course, still the disinfection and distancing is
Yeah.
implemented when you're on commercial centers. So
Okay.
those things, yeah, that I'm seeing. But as far as it's more on prevention now. But it's still of course the risk is there. So I think given the
Yeah.
situation, the tactic now or the idea now is to the events will push through, but
Yeah.
will limited participation with fewer events in order to just continue the season so that the athletes can still have their personal best. So those things.
Yeah, but the thing is that countries in Europe are better equipped than the Philippines to push through with events because of the level of technology and technical officiating in comparison. That they're basically able to telecast between three different venues if need be for some of these like Diamond League events. That's the difference in the fact that they're better prepared for the COVID already. They've already like done the modifications, and they've already researched what modifications need to be done, and they've already come up with well thought plans to implement athletics in a safe environment. While we're yet to see that
Yeah,
from
some
the Philippines. We're yet to see
yes,
that place.
yes, that's right. Because of course, given the situation that there is no open access to sports stadiums in the
Yeah,
Philippines right now, and even with the federation will try to insist that they will push with the events this year, as long as the Philippine government won't say that no, we cannot do this, we can do that. So it's still really on a limbo where it will. So that's why
yeah.
that's why when we are talking to
They
Splash
need the
Runner,
clear
I said
clarification from the
focus on continuous
IATF.
training. Yeah, but of
And
course, as long as they,
and
besides, they always change their policy
yeah,
depending
but
on the
if we go to
situation.
modified ECQ from GCQ, then the chances of the IATF giving them giving Sports NSAs the thumbs up is going to decrease, because like in modified ECQ, you have to have even more precautions than in GCQ, right? Because modified ECQ is a higher level uh, of um, of curfews and restrictions than GCQ.
Yes.
So if we go to modified ECQ, the chances of coming back to competitions in September is going to become even more unlikely. It's going to be it'll rapidly decrease the chance of having competitions in 6 weeks. If you go into modified ECQ in 2 weeks from now, the chances of the IATF giving the thumbs up is going to go down.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, so like I mean, we just got to wait and see. I guess it's a waiting game. But the way I see it, it doesn't even look like they're flattening the curve at all. Because if they were flattening the curve, then the hospitals wouldn't be full up. The hospitals are full up. That means the curve is still very not flat right now.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, so those things, that's what I'm seeing right now. So I think it would be very interesting to see how things will happen after July, because that's also an acid test. Because of course, as we know, the cases in the Philippines is continue
Yeah,
rising, and we don't see even
yeah,
as you mentioned,
yeah.
flattening the curve. So here
From what
we're
I
doing
see, very few
what
athletes are actually training right now. Like
yeah.
maybe only 1% or less of all the athletes, and I'm just talking about athletics. I'm not talking about like swimming, volleyball, basketball, taekwondo, sepak takraw, frisbee. Like all these other sports. I'm talking about just athletics. I think from the way I see it, only 1% or less of athletes are actually training right now because of the restrictions. I mean, people try to go out and train on the roads, and sometimes the police come by and tell them to go home. So that's how hard it is to train right now. Is
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fact that even if you want to go and do modified training, like even just outside the house on the road, do some drills or some strides on the road, sometimes the police will drive past and tell you to go home. Even if you're in a subdivision, you get told to go home, even if nobody is around and you're training and you're wearing a mask and you're taking all the precautions and you're
Mm-hmm.
sort of, and no one else is there for you to catch the COVID off. Still, the barangay police will drive past. They'll just tell you to go home, like, because they don't want anyone sort of running around
Mm-hmm.
at this point. So that's how difficult it is right now, that situation.
Yeah,
Anyhow, let's move on to the
yeah.
next slide.
Okay, yeah, one moment. Uh-huh. Tap, 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 tap.
Awesome.
Okay, so
Okay, so this is like Pinoy Athletics stats. So basically, this is a modified version of our motto. So basically, our Philippine Athletics #1 news
mm,
outlet and news and views. Your Philippines Athletics #1 news outlet and news and views for Philippine Athletics. So yeah, so like even during COVID, I'd just like to say that we are still not letting the fact that it is COVID like stop our efforts from delivering the news on Philippine athletics and Philippine sports and world athletics to some extent. Whatever we can find, whatever we have to share, whatever information, knowledge, coaching, advice, pep talks, like whatever needs, whatever we can provide, we will provide. Now, what I'm saying, yeah, we've still continued to grow despite the fact it's COVID. Like, more people are tuning in. So as of now, we have 27,000 followers on our Facebook page. We have a mailing list of 80,000. And we have 9,500 or almost 9,600 Facebook group members. So heading towards that 10,000 mark. I'm not listing all our other social networks like Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, because like I just haven't had time to compile all that data. But these are our main sources, and like very happy to see how it's going and how it's grown over the last 8 or so years. And yeah, it's just a culmination of the efforts that we've got to this point. Yeah, so anything to add, or should we move on to the next slide?
We're glad that we are still having the widest reach, and we thank you again, our dear audience, our dear athletics community, for trusting Pinoy Athletics for your news and information. Again, as we mentioned, we are here doing this as much as in complementary to help one way or another to learn more and to have a better community in athletics. As we mentioned, and we pledge that once all COVID-19 restrictions is over all over the world, in 2021 and 2022, we will have our first series of grassroots athletics visits. We are seeing 3 major communities, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, that yours truly and someone who we are still looking for a tandem coach for this. But of course, we cannot, as given that this is Philippines right now, we cannot really say do this. But then one thing, ladies and gentlemen, in August, it will be a better situation for our track talk because we will be inviting more foreign coaches and more resource persons in August. So far, we're still working, by the way, with the Palaro people when they will be available to answer the questions on all Palaro concerns. But I will write them again once they are available. And in August, I'll be inviting a long jump coach who's also one of the professors here in the University of Physical Education in Hungary. His name is Dr. Sandor Beres. He coached in Singapore a few years ago, and his expertise is in the matters of long jump and biomechanics of long jump. He is master's athlete. So it would be good as well to hear his insights, especially on how to observe some common mistakes in teaching. So that would be his topic for August, because here in the context of employees here in Hungary, July and August are the paid holiday time. So I think because the university is on a summer break, so I can push that much people to be invited because they're busy with their personal vacations as of this time. But in August, we will be having more speakers, and of course, we cannot also in I think when the German national championships in Braunschweig in first of August will take place. I think after that, I think we're in a better position now to invite more, especially in September, because September is the first 2 weeks of September is usually the off-season break for most athletes here in Europe before they went again for another season in November, December until the indoors.
Okay.
And so,
I'd like to add.
Yes, buddy. Continue. So I'm reading now that how far is our reach. We have 27,000 followers, 8,000, and 9,500 FB group members. We hope that we can raise it to 10,000 FB group members, and we hope to aim 30,000 followers or likers in Pinoy Athletics page. And I hope that our friends in mainstream media will really put an appreciation or what we are doing for Philippine athletics. Of course, we are trying their best to provide them with as much as possible independent. Of course, as women, we are not the federation. We are just only doing our best to give public information on related to athletics coaching, training, and other matters. Buddy, you have something to add before we move to the next slide? You're muted. Buddy, you're muted. I think
Sorry,
you're
yeah,
mute.
yeah,
Unmute yourself.
okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
go
like
on.
it kept logging me on and off. But what I was saying, hello?
Yes, buddy, continue. Yes,
Yep.
continue.
Yeah, what I was saying was in about 20 minutes on the Pinoyathletics.info website, it's released because my every day or every second day at 6 o'clock Australian time or 4 o'clock in the Philippines, I have a automatic publication scheduled. So a lot of interesting material. In this case, I had a discussion with Australian sprint coach friend of mine, and he basically we basically extending on the topic of talent identification. I've got a article which is a situation which he had, which is basically describing talent identification and athlete loyalty to coach, which is a very interesting read. Because it's an interesting read how some Australian athletes have that perspective where even if they're tempted to go to another coach, they stick with the same coach who improved them because they know that they're going to continue improving under that coach rather than risk going to a coach that may or may not improve them. So that's a very interesting read, and we will discuss that more on Tuesday. But just moving on, we better proceed to the next slide. So I think that we may run over time here.
Yeah, so to continue, ladies and gentlemen,
I think I'm just talking about the training. So like this is the next thing. I'm discussing training workouts. So yeah, I'm helping a couple of athletes online at the moment with coaching. I gave the two athletes 2 sets of 3 200s under the following. Hang on, I'll just go onto the big screen. My eyes can't really see this on my cell phone. Yeah, so this is what I gave them: 2 sets of 3 200s, and these were the conditions that they were done under. So yeah, they went at 80 to 85% effort of their target PB. By target PB, like in this case, I set the time of 23 flat because I think that that's something realistic at this point that they can do. Yeah. And the other important thing about 80 to 85% effort is that's a comfortable enough. It's like if you think 80 to 85% effort in a sprint, that's kind of like a striding type speed. So rolling, it's not jogging, but it's not full out sprinting. That's the sort of speed that you can kind of run relaxed at and focus on your technique and your arms and your leg cycles and your running form and rounding a curve properly. So yeah, the first thing is do not overexert on the first set. In particular with this type of workout with kids, they tend to like just go nuts on the first set. And, like say, for example, if you've got a girl that runs 30 seconds for the 200 meters, she might run like 30.5 on the first run, like close to the PB. And then by the time they get to number 4, rep, they can't finish the workout because they've already went too fast at the start. So yeah, 80 to 85%. So if that girl's running 30 seconds, 80% of that is about, so 33 is 10%, 90% of 30, so it would be 36 seconds. So she has to run 36 seconds of her target output is about 30, she's got to run 36. But if she's going to if she's running 30 and she's targeting running 29.5, then she's probably going to have to run about 35.5 on her average time in order to have the conditioning to deload and then to be able to run that faster time later in the season. So, 2 sets of 200. So you get 3 minutes between reps. Of course, you're not going to be able to run full out on 3 minutes because the ATP system needs at least 5 to 6 minutes to recover properly. So that's why that 8-minute rest is really important between the 2 sets, because in the 8-minute rest, that's giving you enough time to be able to recover and do another quality 200 meters. Basically think about what you could do better, how you could run better, what form you could use. But, every second of rest in this workout is needed. It's designed to have that much rest. So, you'd make the mistake if you're like, I don't need 8 minutes rest. I only need 5 minutes rest or 4 minutes rest. If you do that, you might not finish the workout, or you're going to be really hurting by the time you get to the end of the workout if you do not take every second that is required of this workout.
One thing, I think this is also a reminder to our fellow coaches to really consider enough recovery time with your athletes when they're training, because don't see fatigue as a sign of weakness. Because I'm seeing some of the coaches that they don't allow their athletes to, because no, it's not like that, ladies and gentlemen. Allow enough time for the athlete to recover, especially during workouts, because besides, one thing, don't treat water don't treat water deprivation or treat as a punishment for athlete not allowing them to do water breaks.
I don't know why anybody would not allow their athletes to hydrate.
I'm sure, buddy, that there are still some coaches who use water, the deprivation or not allowing of water breaks as a form of punishment.
Yeah, but the human body is mainly composed of water. It's like 70 to 80% of water.
No, it's not about, ladies and gentlemen, you're ruining the body of your athlete. I'm telling you, because the human body is majority of human body is dependent on water. So if you deprive athletes, especially when they are really dehydrated, they will really be injured. I hope that to those who are listening to us, please don't use punishment like doing water or like doing this kind of sanctions as a form of punishment. You can think of positive reinforcements. It's getting better now, so please don't use that we are doing this in the past. No, it's not anymore like that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue.
Okay, so also with this workout, right, if you're sticking to 80 to 85% pace, you need, in these workouts, it's very important you stick to the rest intervals that are given to you, which are 3 minutes between reps and 8 minutes between sets. The reason why that is because if you take long, let's say, for example, like, again, I'll use 30 seconds because that's an easy one to sort of work off. If you've got a girl running 30 seconds for the 200 and she's pacing 36, 36 is 80% of her time. And on 3 minutes, she should be able to run at 35, 36, not, stay at that pace. If she rests too long, she's going to be more recovered and she's going to run like way quicker than what the actual point of the session is, which is to run within those comfortable times. If she rests 10 minutes, she might end up running 32 or 30, 32 and a half or something like that, which is way too much rest, and it kills the purpose of the workout, which is conditioning and pacing and that sort of thing. It's not a workout where you're supposed to be running flat out. So in saying that, 3 minutes is actually not enough time to walk back from the start of the 200 meters to the 200 start again. So, if you don't have enough time and you're on a track, then you start at the 200 meters start and you finish at the finish line. Then the next run, you start at the 400 start, and then you run to the 200 start because there's a stagger. So say, for example, if you're in lane 4 and you start at 400-meter start, you're going to run to the 200-meter start of lane 4, not to that line which is near the beginning of lane 1, because that's not 200 meters. That'll be less than 200 meters if you're in lane 4 and you only run to the lane 1 stagger. You've got to run to the stagger in whichever lane you're running in to the start of the 200. So you don't cheat and run, less than what you're supposed to, and then distort the times. The next thing is, so like this is good on a track oval because it has markings, but I'm not sure if this is really applicable in the Philippines, but in other countries, a grass track oval is probably better because this is only 80%. So when you're running at 80%, you don't really need to be running on a track. A grass oval is probably better because it's a little bit less strenuous on the feet, a little bit less impact on the joints. So grass track ovals better. A lot of the Jamaican athletes train on grass even now, using rubber shoes because, the tendency is with athletes, if you let them put on spikes, they're going to basically going to push more than 80 to 85% a lot of the time. But with rubber shoes, it's hard to push for 90 to 95% in rubber shoes, so it sort of keeps them at the pace. Also, if you train in rubber shoes for reps, when you put on spikes during a competition, since rubber shoes are a bit heavier and harder to run in, you're going to feel lighter when you put the spikes on during the competition. So it's a sort of a similar form of resistance type training as well. And also, more importantly, record the times. So then, therefore, you can track your progress and see, estimate what you can run the 200 in, and, see, if you can track your gradual improvement in the workout. So that was all on that. So now let's move on to the coaching philosophy. I don't know if we'll cover all of it, but I'll try and speed through it in like 20 minutes.
We're now moving to the other slide, being. Yeah, you still have
So this is like the last part. So the two guys I've been working with, they're 19 and 17, obviously. These are their times. This is basically this is the importance of keeping data in athletics if you're a coach. What's important is that, like, you can see I've used a nice Excel spreadsheet here. So it's very clear on this explanation. I have the age of the athletes, so they're 19 and 17-year-old guys, 200 PBs. Like, this is roughly, I think it might be a bit different, but like roughly what they run. And these times here are basically what they're running, and they're sticking to their 3-minute rests. So this is what their target time is: 28, 75, and 30. And as you can see, with this recovery, all the times are well below the target. And the total is basically, the total, if you add all their times together, what they've run in total. This is what I got from a previous coach who coached me. The total's really crucial as well for data keeping, because you can find out and compare the totals each time. And these totals, which are the total amount of time it took to run 6 repetitions, should decrease over time as the athlete gets familiar with the session.
Yes, and also, buddy, I must say to our dear coaches that even without Excel and you have only just manual data, I think it would be very good, and you will.
This is a difficult session to do first.
What I'm saying, buddy, is that, of course, this is the good thing about when you really record the time and the performances of your athlete during training session. It's very easy to do, and then at the same time, it will provide you a greater appreciation on the hard work of your athlete. That's why, as I mentioned, it's always an anecdotal thing for me. When I always ask athletes from even up to palaro level, even just random, what is your personal best? I went third in the regional. What is your time? I don't know. And then again, I'm telling this again to our officials and to our coaches in all private and public schools. Please always secure the copy or know the time of your athletes so that you can know if they are progressing or regressing.
Okay.
Because you cannot appreciate if someone cannot appreciate the time and the performance of the athlete, how will you know that they are doing better or they are doing worse? It's not always about the placing, because, for example, if it might get the first place of your regional meet, but then the times are not yet palaro standard or not yet the national junior or average near to the junior junior standings that you are publishing in Pinoyathletics. So how can we can aspire to have those kind of situations?
Yeah,
So
it's
those
very
things. That's why.
important. Like with data is very important in program planning. It's not just important in like national ranking lists and Southeast Asian ranking lists, and data is important. That everything's recorded, even the amount of weight that an athlete's lifting, how much rest they're having in between, what
Yes, one
intensities they're going at.
yes, one thing, buddy. I will show you. I will show to the public something that this is how serious the German athletics community is doing the data keeping.
Yeah. Okay.
Athletic data bank. One moment. Uh,
Maybe I'll just finish this off first, and then maybe you can show that next.
yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah, I'll just finish this
Sure. Okay, continue.
explanation of this. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that, say for example, if your athlete's targeting at a particular time, by a certain competition, you need to know when that competition is, what the athlete wants to run. Is it realistic? Yes. And if so, you have to do that and work backwards from the competition into your coaching planning. Like, for example, let's say, for example, the athlete wants to run 1 minute for the 400 and their best is 105 and they have a year to do it. That's possibly a doable goal. So you need to basically work them off a percentage of 1 minute for their runs as you go towards the competition with a varying amount of different distances around 400 meters. So in this case,
yeah. Okay, buddy. I will show to them now. Look at
maybe after, because I'm just still finalizing the explanation of this.
Yes. Okay.
So,
continue.
Yeah. So with this sheet, we've explained the total. The average times are basically if you add all these 6 times together and divide them by the number of times they ran by 6. They've achieved here times of 27.03 and 27.95. So their targets were 28.75 and 30. So in this case, the athlete has gone like 0.8 underneath their target. And in this case, the athlete has gone nearly 3 seconds under their targets, which means that next time I will probably make their targets, around half a second more, because they can manage that pace. So that will enable them to pace better in order to maintain those targets. Now, as you can see, yes, have the athletes achieved their targets? Yes. Now, if these were little kids, I'd probably be, I don't know, buying them an ice cream, a packet of bingo biscuits or something for their effort to sort of motivate them a bit. But, that maybe so anyway, based on this, and I don't feel that this is entirely accurate, these last 2 columns, but if this is 80%, but I estimate by looking at the athletes, they were going at about 82 to 83% or 84%, so the figure will be somewhere between, the estimated time will be somewhere between these 2 figures. So, so the time, my estimate based on these figures is probably 22.8 to 23.4 if they would put on spikes and go all out. But there would be no point doing that right now because, it's not an official competition. It's not recorded, so it's not really very meaningful if they were to do it now. And, we're still building base. So, so that's pretty much it. So you can present the...
Okay. So to for the public to appreciate what we are saying about data keeping, look at this, buddy. So this is the Light Athletic Data Bank or the German Athletics Data Bank. So this is where most or at least all the athletes' performance of any German athlete, whether club, regional, federal, and up to national level. I will show some. So Julia. So this one athlete is from Mannheim, Julia Roll. She's a heptathlete. But then if you look at this, okay, so that's her name, her age, under 23, and that's her personal best.
Right.
And for the public's attention, when they are doing the records here, all of them are electronically recorded. But here's the thing. This is the thing that I appreciate. Um, they're their electronic timing is like on a van body. It's like it can be transported very easily. So, for example, if there's a competition, for example, in this town, this electronic timing van will travel there and then do the recording. And so let us see
Okay.
other athlete. Yulia. Okay, man. Yeah, this one, Yulia. So so this born 2003, so that's her personal best. Okay, always in German, so to for us to understand. So you can see the personal best, 60 meters, 100, all of the performances. So if we can keep this kind of data anytime, anywhere, all over the world, I think we can do something for this. But of course, it will take some time, because the thing is, we don't have yet this centralized system when all performances are automatically recorded. So for example, when you run today, pack, okay, you run, then they will enter the data. It will be centrally network connected to this server, and then it will be
Can
automatically
I can
generated.
I add something here? You know,
Yes,
like, to be honest, this sort of planning or implementation has been talked about by the Philippine Sports, what do you call it, the PSI, for
yes,
the PSC, the Philippine Sports Institute. They've been talking about this for years, but I haven't actually seen it being done. That's what I'm basically referring to. That German thing that you showed me then, the PSI from the PSC has been talking about doing it for years, and you know they've even employed, let me be honest, they've employed in the past, you know, like heaps and heaps of people, like, I don't know, like 20, 30 people to do this, and nothing's been done. So they've basically employed all these people, but what's actually been done in terms of a database?
yeah. So, and then of course, we can also look on the Palaro scanned copies, but at least if we can really, if we are really dead serious on having the data, etc., any IT professional, I'm sure, can do this. Because, for example, this has been also the subject of a feasibility study of one of the information technology students of
Yeah,
Ateneo
my
Davao.
question is, like,
Mhm.
my question is, why hasn't it been done yet? That's
uh,
my question, because they've been talking about doing this for years and it hasn't been done, even with IT people and with students and, you know, like people, extra people being hired by the PSI. This has not been done. It's been talked about for the last 4 years. I
mhm.
mean, the German, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with it. The Germans have done it, but the Germans, like the way they think, the way they do things, they're very, like, the Germans are very rigorous people. They like basically adhere to deadlines. We've got to do this by this time, and then they just go ahead and do it. It's like the German saying, the trains must run on time. You know, like the Germans are very time conscious about when they do things. That when they set a deadline to do something, they get it done.
Yes. What I'm saying, buddy, is if they're really serious on this, any IT people can do this kind of program in a fairly short time, because this is very simple data banking. It's just
Yeah, but
only.
look, put it this way: the date the people doing the encoding, right? They need to have some knowledge of the sport as they need to have some knowledge of the sport as well, because otherwise the information could be entered in incorrectly if there's no, you know, if there's no knowledge of the sport in terms of events and that sort of thing as well.
Mm.
So it's not just about being fluent at copying and pasting. It's about actually being able to interpret what you're putting in as well, to some extent. So if someone from was a data encoder from an IT company and they had no knowledge of
Mm.
sport, they could be entering in the data inadvertently, incorrectly, because they don't understand the actual numbers themselves. So there could be a lot of typo errors if the person encoding doesn't have at least some knowledge of sport. It's like, I'm pretty sure that these people who are encoding in Germany, who do the encoding, they would have some knowledge of athletics. Because definitely in
Buddy,
Australia, the
in my
people who,
short that I've noticed, this electronic timing system that they're having is interconnected to the network. And so, for example, you run today, and then you will have the performance, and it on real time, and then I think after the event, it will be automatically transferred to this data bank.
Right. Well,
About the
okay, I understand that. But my point is that if you're getting people who don't really know about athletics to enter in athletics data, the problem is that they'll just copy and paste. And if there's any errors or anything, that are not right in the original set of results, they won't be able to notice that, and they'll just encode it anyway without reporting the errors that are in the original results. It's like, I'll give you an example. Let's just say, for example, in the long jump results, right? In the long jump results, the information gets submitted to the encoder, and in the long jump, somebody's jumped 10 meters. The person who looks at the result, who's doing the encoding, will not say, hang on a minute, that doesn't look right. No one can jump 10 meters. That's the world record. They'll basically go, okay, that I'll just copy and paste that, and then they'll put it in the original. There'll be no counter checking of results. That's what I'm saying, is that if incorrect encode information is given to encode, whereas if they don't have knowledge of athletics, they won't pick those things up and they won't report them, and then incorrect information will be given to the public.
Yeah, that would be.
So that's why I'm saying I'm pretty sure that the people who are encoding in German athletics, because for sure in athletics in Australia, they have some knowledge of like actual sport results. They don't just hire people who are from IT companies who don't know anything about sport to do the encoding, because they won't be able to counter check any errors.
Yeah.
But no, I'm saying that it's a good thing. The German system of having those results, that's all good. It's just what I'm just saying is that you need to have someone who can actually counter check incorrect information, who has a little bit of athletic background to be able to do it.
Yeah. So those things, yeah. So what I'm saying, just only that it is a different situation. No, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, of course we have different socio-economic situations, of course, here in EU. But the thing is, if we are really dead serious on making sure that we can work something on this, then at least we should try. We are just saying that this is a good model, but of course it still depends on those kind of situations. Yes, buddy.
What I was saying is the reason why I think that the PSI's plan to make a national database never really pushed off was because they basically tried to hire students who had knowledge of IT, but not really.
Yes. Mm. Yes, continue, buddy. Ardell.
Sort of
Yes, continue. I think we are having some trouble with the connection. Okay, we continue. Ardell, we have technical difficulties with the connection, so please bear with us. of course. Yeah, we can wrap this up and then we will continue anytime soon for our discussions. Okay, we will do some shout outs once you're ready, but continue with the chat. Again, before you continue, we'd like to thank again our participants on Facebook. Um, Randy, Gian Albert, Justine, of course, the one and only Marco Villog, Jaime Cabalan Jr. of Kalinga Province.
The illustrious Marco Vlog.
Of course, the Bilog ang Mundo, Vlog ang Mundo, the world is round with Marco Villog, the one and only Marco Villog. And then Patrick Manalang, Professor Robin Darwin Tuliao of Cagayan State University, Tuguegarao City, one of our dear friends in
Actually,
region.
like, to be honest, like with a like on that note, it would actually be very interesting to hear from someone who, you know, like who has a really good qualification like Robin in sports science. It would actually be good to get his views on training and programming and that sort of thing. I'm very happy that he tuned in, and I really respect the guy. You know, he's a more methodical coach who really appreciates the planning and sports science type of thing, and he's well read with a lot of peer-reviewed type studies and materials and that sort of thing. So he's a very intelligent sort of coach. So he'd be a good one to sort of discuss these sort of things further with. Anyway, continue.
Yes. Okay. So we hope that so yeah, we hope that we continue our discussion for the next edition of the Track Talk. Of course, we will have part 2 next Tuesday on the coaching philosophy for another session. So for August, it will be jam-packed sessions for our guest speakers. As I mentioned, we have set roster of international speakers coming in, so please stay tuned to us every Tuesdays and Thursdays. Make it a habit. 4 to 6 p.m. or 4 p.m. Philippine time. Sorry, 2 to 4 p.m. Philippine time. Yeah. So with that, we end our discussion and our track talk here at Pinoyathletics. So thank you very much for participating and take care and God bless.